Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the series, the TNA series in TEW 2020. I, of course, am CR Daredevil, bringing you all of the live action here as we have another episode of Impact just a couple of weeks away from the Hard Justice pay-per-view, which will be main evented by Magnus defending the TNA World's Heavyweight Championship against MVP. Last week on Impact, if you missed the episode, you better go back and watch it, because last week on Impact, we had the return of the American hero himself, Kurt Angle, who came back and defeated our champion Magnus in a non-title matchup via submission, had him tap out to the ankle lock, thanks to a distraction from the challenger at Hard Justice, MVP. And then as the show ended, we had Team 3D get thrown off of the stage by Abyss and Samoa Joe. So one has to wonder what all is going to happen from there. But we dive into the action here today with only one dark match on tonight's event. And it is featuring Terraterrell getting a victory over Brittany in 841 by pinfall with a flying crossbody. Gets a 44. Just getting a couple of our underused knockouts a chance to have a match in front of 6,820 people in the Windler Arena in Michigan. We start off the main portion of the show with the usual of our World's Heavyweight Champion Magnus being joined by Samoa Joe and Abyss this time out in the ring. Magnus says that last week was a fluke. He was distracted by MVP, and he was not tapping out. He was trying to reach for the ropes, but the referee thought it was a tap out. Fine. But you know what? It was a non-title victory. Congratulations, Kurt Angle. You have a non-title victory over the champion. Truth be told, Magnus I wasn't going to put on 100% in that matchup anyway, because it wasn't for the title. I only put on my greatest performances when the title is on the line. That's what makes me the greatest TNA World's Heavyweight Champion in history. But you know what, Kurt Angle, congratulations. You got that victory, but it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, because you're not the one challenging at Hard Justice. That's just some jabroni no-name that needs to learn his lesson and be put in his place. And you're not the number one contender. That is this man right here, kind of slapping, not slapping, but, kind of patting his hand on Samoa Joe's shoulder. And Magnus says, but you know what? This whole thing is getting kind of ridiculous anyway, honestly. Because why should I have had to compete against Kurt Angle last week when we all know that there's still the actual problem going on with this Hard Justice main event? MVP is not the number one contender for the championship. MVP should not be getting a shot at the title, especially main eventing a pay-per-view like Hard Justice. And this is when MVP comes out. And he says, you have a bit of a point there, Magnus. You have a bit of a point. I really haven't, outside of, being the man who still has power in TNA, even if I'm temporarily giving it up, I haven't really done a whole lot in this company. I've done a lot in this business so far, but I haven't done a whole lot in this company. So you know what? You're kind of right there. So I'm not against a matchup. I'm not against a match at all. I have no problem taking on anybody, because truth be told, I kind of want a piece of Abyss anyway, thanks to him throwing me in the trunk of a car a couple weeks ago and trying to kidnap me. Too bad you done left the door open or you done left the door unlocked in the building you tried to hide me in. Good job there, boys. And, some laughter there as Magnus looks at Abyss like, what the hell is your problem? And MVP says, you know what, I have no problem. I have no problem with it. And that's when Bischoff comes out. And Eric Bischoff says, you know what, MVP, right now you don't have any power, so you can't make the matches. But I do like your idea. See, Magnus is continuing to run his mouth week after week after week, whining and complaining about you being the one challenging for the title at Hard Justice and this and that and all this whining and complaining. So how about we do things to clear up all of the whining and complaining and confusion? How about tonight, in the main event of Impact, we have MVP go one-on-one with Samoa Joe. The crowd goes crazy. Oh, yeah. So tonight in the main event of Impact, it is going to be MVP versus Samoa Joe. And maybe we'll find out who truly is the number one contender, I guess, at this point. It also gets announced by the commentators during this segment that Kurt Angle will be going one-on-one with Rockstar Spud later in the show. He still has some lingering history and issues with Spud and EC3 thanks to the injury that put him out on the shelf for a while. But he can't get his hands on EC3 right now because EC3 is locked up in the Bound for Glory series. So for now, he's going to get his hands on Rockstar Spud. And of course, they go over the 3 Bound for Glory series matches tonight, which, if you do not remember from the last episode, it is going to be Eric Young and AJ Styles one-on-one. It is going to be Homicide and Johnny Impact. And of course, the kind of surprising one out of this, it is going to be the members of Beer Money going at it, as it will be James Storm and Bobby Roode later tonight. After this opening segment, we get Bobby Roode and James Storm backstage, which only gets a 57 because James Storm and Dixie Carter both did not do well off script, apparently. That's kind of the problem sometimes with this game is if I put one person off script, then I have to put everybody off script, or else there's a bunch of awkwardness. And sometimes you get those guys who just are unhappy that they have to be scripted, like Bobby Roode. But anyway, random rant over. Bobby Roode is talking to James Storm backstage, and Storm's like, listen, dude, I know we've been having some problems recently. You guys, like, Team Dixie apparently doesn't want anything to do with me, blah, blah, blah. And Roode's like, dude, no, it's not like that. Like, Beer Money, man. Beer Money. We're associated with Team Dixie together. You know, we're in this together. And he's like, and Storm's like, listen, dude, like, you and I, we've been in this company quite a long time. We've gone up, we've had the ups and downs in this company. Tonight, it's just a match against each other in the Bound for Glory series. That's all it is. There's no animosity between us. There's no beef between us. There's nothing personal between us. Just 2 guys fighting it out in the Bound for Glory series, right? And he puts out his hand, and Roode shakes it, and he's like, of course, dude. Like, we got this. We're gonna have this match. The better man's gonna win. We're gonna, continue to do what we're doing in the Bound for Glory series, and then after the Bound for Glory series is over, after I become the TNA World's Heavyweight Champion, we're gonna, Beer Money's gonna get the tag team titles, and we're gonna be on top of the world here in TNA, no problems. And that's when Dixie kind of interrupts. She's kind of partway down the hall and she's kind of clearing her throat, getting Roode's attention. And Roode's like, "Listen, man, I gotta go, but listen, we're gonna have a good match out there tonight. No shenanigans, nothing crazy. Just you and me one-on-one. Find out who the better man is. Go from there." And so Roode goes over to where Dixie is, and Dixie's like, "Dude, why? Like, you need to focus. You need to have your focus tonight. You need to win the Bound for Glory series. EC3 was supposed to be winning this Bound for Glory series, and he's doing an absolute terrible job. So you're the one that Team Dixie has their money in. You're the one that has to win this whole thing. You don't need to be talking to the competition ahead of time." And Roode's like, "Yeah, but that's James. Like, he's my friend. He's my partner. We're tag team partner, all that stuff." And Dixie's like, "Listen, you need to treat him like an enemy tonight. You need to treat him like an enemy, and maybe you need to be thinking about treating him like an enemy heading forward." So Dixie's kind of planting some seeds into Bobby Roode's head. They're trying to play into his, or trying to get into his head and try to potentially split up Beer Money here, which is kind of weird. We'll have to see where that leads, but I don't think it's 57. It is what it is. After that, we get our first of our 3 Bound for Glory Series matches in what turned out to be a hell of a matchup. A hell of a matchup indeed, as Johnny Impact gets another 3 points in a victory over Homicide, gets a 76 rating for the match, 74 from Impact, 61 from Homicide. Great back and forth matchup there. Cannot go wrong with that at all. Johnny Impact, officially now, Bobby Roode still has his match later on tonight, but Impact with those 3 points gets himself up to 17 and technically is in the lead of the Bound for Glory series right now, but we'll have to see how things play out the rest of the night. While Homicide does not get a victory, stays at 7 points, and finds himself still in the bottom half of the Bound for Glory series. After that match, we have a promo in the ring. Mickie James comes out and says that she wants to apologize. Everybody's like, what? Apologize? Mickie's like, I want to apologize about the fact that you guys are going to have to deal with someone who would be better on a farm being in the ring with true royalty like Mickie James at Hard Justice. ODB is the kind of girl who you would find in a bar and trying to drink everybody under the table, and then randomly going home with some new guy every night. Whereas Mickie James is someone who you only see at classy events. You only see at respectful events. ODB is the kind of person who considers a good date to be going out to the monster truck rally or the demolition derby or whatever pathetic things that she gets into. Whereas yours truly, when myself and Magnus go out on the town, we go out to the most sophisticated events there are, and we are treated like the royalty we are. So to have to share the ring with someone like ODB at Hard Justice is just, it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. And that's when ODB comes out with her flask, mind you, takes a big swig of the flask, and says, essentially she says, well, sorry, Miss Queen of the World. Apparently, you seem to think that you are better than everyone here in this company, in this business, and in the world. I hate to break it to you, but you're not. But it is funny that you bring up that I'm so much white trash, so to speak, that I'm so much below you, because, I have no problem outdoing you in any sort of competition, be it drinking beer, be it hog wrestling, be it, and Mickie just puts her hand up and stops her right there. It's like, I'm not gonna fall for your tricks. You're trying to get me all riled up to try to lower myself into something of your standards. And ODB's like, you know what? You're right. So how about next week on Impact, we do some more sophisticated challenges. We go through some sophisticated challenges, and I'll prove that I can be just as sophisticated as you, if not more sophisticated. And then, in a couple of weeks, save the Knockouts Championship by taking it away from you and putting it around the waist of somebody who wrestling fans actually want to be the champion. So apparently next week we're getting something called some sort of sophisticated challenge. I have no idea what that is, but that's a thing. Sure, why the heck not? So ODB and Mickie James are apparently going to do some sort of sophisticated challenge thing next week. We'll have to see what that means, but that's a thing. So we move on from there to a tag team match in the Knockouts division, in which Angelina Love and Brooke Tessmacher go to a draw with Katarina and Rosemary in 9:14 when the referee loses control, stops the match. all 4 women just continuing to fight with each other. This beautiful people storyline continuing to just continuing as Velvet Sky and Madison Rayne were at ringside for both sides. Just absolute chaos continues. This gets to 53. After the match, they're still fighting with each other. Everybody's fighting with each other. Brawl still happening between the 6 women. When Bischoff comes out and says, listen, enough is enough. You guys have been at this for months now. You've been continuing to do this for quite some time now. The only change you really did was just bring more knockouts into the whole thing. So fine, you want to continue to do this? Fine, but we're going to put an end to this at Hard Justice. It is going to be a 3-on-3 matchup. The beautiful people taking on Madison Rayne, Katarina, and Rosemary. The last time. We're done with this after this. But this is not going to be just your typical 3-on-3 match, because I know how the beautiful people, I know how you work looking at the beautiful people. I know how you operate. You won the last 6-woman tag match by underhanded tactics. I know how you operate. So this one at Hard Justice is going to be a hardcore 6 knockout tag match. So at Hard Justice, it's going to be 3-on-3. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and Brooke Tessmacher versus Rosemary, Katarina, and Madison Rayne. And this time, weapons are allowed, and they're going to be going all over the place. So we will have to see how that plays out at Hard Justice, but that's going to be crazy. And apparently that's it. That's the last time. They're not going to be doing this again after that. So one of these sides are going to get the victory, and then that's just going to be it. There's not going to be any more of this. So we'll have to see what happens with that. After that, we go backstage and we see Brian Kendrick talking to DJZ, the X Division champion. And he says, listen, man. You and I, we don't seem to have, we don't really like each other. It's kind of obvious. We don't like each other. But we do have a certain level of respect for each other. I respect that you've been able to get to the levels that you have here in this company. And I know, I can tell that you have some respect for me being a longtime vet of this company and all that, or this business and all that. He says, but the problem is that you and I, one-on-one, we would have a great matchup. We would have a heck of a matchup. It would be great. People would be talking about it for weeks afterwards. But Jay Lethal is involved. And Jay Lethal, he muddies things up. He makes things more difficult. So Kendrick says, listen, you and I, we need to get this to a one-on-one matchup. We need to do something to get this to just you and me one-on-one. And DJZ kind of looks at him, shrugs, and says, what do you have in mind? And the camera kind of fades off from there. So apparently Kendrick and DJZ are working out something to potentially try to take out Jay Lethal or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we will have to see. After that, we get a surprising matchup in a 77 rating. About that had great heat and good wrestling. James Storm picks up the victory over Bobby Roode in the Bound for Glory series. Surprising indeed, because Bobby Roode has not lost a match this whole time until this moment. He was 4-0 in the Bound for Glory series until this moment. So he gets defeated by pinfall thanks to the Eye of the Storm from James Storm. Storm gets himself 11 points, and that means that no matter what happens between Eric Young and AJ Styles tonight, Johnny Impact will be leaving this week as the leader of the Bound for Glory series, because even if Eric Young was to get a 5-point submission victory, that would only get him up to 16 points, and Johnny Impact has 17 now, so Johnny Impact will officially be in the lead. But more surprising James Storm getting a victory over Bobby Roode. What ramifications is this going to have? Because, they had their promo ahead of time. They were just going to go into this, let the better man win, go from there. Dixie tried to get into Bobby Roode's head, and Bobby Roode came up short. He came up short against James Storm, so we're going to have to see what that means, because that could lead to some interesting things in the near future, for sure. But big time victory for James Storm, the Cowboy, and we're going to have to see what that leads to, for sure. After that, we've got Bad Influence talking to each other backstage. They are bringing up the apparently accepted challenge for Hard Justice against Dean Errico, and kind of talking. Daniel's kind of talking about how they might have struggled against the Wolves, but they're gonna get the victory this one. They're not gonna let this upstart team defeat them. All that stuff. When Low Key shows up, of all people, Low Key kind of looks at Kazarian, and then looks at Daniels, kind of nods his head, or kind of motions his head kind of backwards and to the left kind of a little bit, as if to say, like, hey, kind of talk to you over here. Daniels looks at Low Key and then turns back to Kaz and says, listen, dude, let me go find out what he wants, but listen, we'll be back. I'll be back. We're going to talk strategy, all that stuff. So apparently Low Key wants to talk to Daniels about something. Not sure what that is, but that's something. Very interesting indeed. After that, in a 77 rated matchup, we are just killing it with the matches here tonight. 77 rated matchup, Kurt Angle defeats Rockstar Spud in 9:59 by pinfall and angle slam. EC3 tried to get involved in this matchup and accidentally hit Rockstar Spud towards the end of the match, which ended up setting up the angle slam. 77 rating, 51 from Spud, 81 from Kurt Angle. Good stuff there, as Angle is able to get a little bit of revenge, but obviously his mind is solely focused on trying to get EC3 at this point because of the issues there. So, but he does have to wait for the Bound of Glory series to end, so we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But Angle getting a victory over Spud, and we move on from there. After that, Chris Sabin is backstage with Velvet Sky, the two, the couple here in TNA. Well, one of the other couples here in TNA, that is. And Sky is complaining about Hard Justice, complaining about having to be in this hardcore 6-woman tag match because she doesn't know what, she knows that Rosemary has her mist, which it means that now that's going to be legal in this matchup, and that Katarina has her weird mind powers over Angelina Love or whatever the hell is going on between those two, and now that could potentially be legal in this matchup, and how it's clearly set up now where it seems like everything is against her, and Sabin's kind of half listening. He's kind of looking off to the side there, and you don't really see him in this segment, but he's kind of looking off to the side, and the camera kind of pans over to the side a little bit to see where he's looking, and you see AJ Styles kind of way farther down the hallway, walking towards the gorilla position, so to speak. So clearly Sabin's still got some issues in his mind with AJ Styles, but it's only kind of half listened to Velvet Sky, which is not always a good thing. But he seems like he's a little distracted still, especially after the smirk that Styles gave Sabin last week. After this odd segment, we get said matchup between AJ Styles and Eric Young, and AJ Styles picks up the victory over Eric Young thanks to the Styles Clash in 1304 in an 82 rated matchup. We are just killing it with these matches right now. 83 from Styles, 55 from Eric Young. I did make the mistake last week. I said that when I saw Kurt Angle's rating, however, I got super excited and said that Kurt Angle maybe have like the best in-ring performances in our company right now. AJ Styles is number one right now when it comes to in-ring performances, but Kurt Angle is 2. Kurt Angle is definitely 2. Styles is pulling off like lower to mid 80 performances basically every week now. Kurt's like right behind him. But still, Kurt Angle's right up there. But AJ Styles is just absolutely killing it for our company right now. Gets the victory in this matchup, gets himself to 13 points. And so, as of right now, as it sits in the Bound for Glory series, Johnny Impact sits in first with 17 points. Bobby Roode is in second with 14. AJ Styles is in third with 13. And if the series was to end right now, we would have to look into some sort of tiebreaker because Eric Young, Chris Sabin, and James Storm are all sitting at 11 points apiece. Rounding out the bottom half of the standing so far, Paul London is at 8 points, Homicide's at 7, EC3 at 6, Bobby Lashley at 6, Sonata at 3, and Hernandez still with 0 points. But it is still anybody's ballgame at this point. We're going to obviously have a match for each competitor the next 2 weeks, like we have been doing, and then we'll have something big for Hard Justice, and the series will continue up until No Surrender, when we will have the final 4 go at it. So we'll have to see what happens by that point in time. But 82 rating for the matchup here as AJ Styles gets a victory over Eric Young. And then, in a surprising moment, like surprising as in like, oh my god, this is crazy. After that match, we get back from the commercial break and commentators are getting ready to talk about the main event when all of a sudden this woman gets into the ring and removes the hood. She's got a hoodie on. She removes the hood and the crowd just goes crazy because it is none other than the formerly known AJ Lee from WWE, who just was the WWE Divas champion in WWE. Like, she literally had the belt just like a week or two ago. And the crowd is going crazy. They're just, oh my god, this is crazy. And she grabs a mic and she says, "You guys may know me from other places, but do you really know me? Do you really know who I am and what I'm capable of? You see, I went to the quote-unquote big leagues, and I quickly rose up the ranks and became their champion without breaking much of a sweat. So clearly, not the big leagues. Clearly, not worth my time. But then I heard about this. Other company, TNA, Total Nonstop Action, and I heard about the Knockouts division and all the women that are here, and I got to thinking. I was like, if the other place is considered the big leagues, and I got through there so quickly, maybe it's not really the big leagues. Maybe it's the minor leagues compared to this place. So, Knockouts division, you've officially been put on notice because April Mendez is here, and I'm going to go through every single one of you until I am the TNA Knockouts champion. The crowd's going crazy as none other than April Mendez, formerly known as AJ Lee, is here in TNA, calling out her shot that she wants the shot at the TNA Knockouts championship. She is here in TNA. kind of a bit of surprise. Her contract was up with WWE, and I outbid them because I was like, listen, if I'm going to continue to grow the Knockouts division, it's going to need a few bigger stars in it. And at this point in 2014, when it comes to women's wrestling, fewer women are known more than the formerly AJ Lee. So she is here in TNA, and we're going to have to see what that means for the entire Knockouts division, because clearly she just put everybody on notice. That's absolutely crazy. We're going to have to see. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to see what ends up happening with that. But April Mendez is here in TNA on Impact. Well, yeah, we're going to have to see what happens from there. It's a great rating for a weirdo gimmick, by the way. Her weirdo gimmick will get explained better over the next few weeks. I have a specific gimmick in mind, but I just classified it as a weirdo one for the time being. Anyway, from that shocking news, we move on to our main event. About that great heat and good wrestling, MVP gets the victory over Samoa Joe with a roll-up in 12:38. After Bully Ray distracted Samoa Joe during the matchup, 66 rating for the match. Our weakest match of the night. Well, no, I take that back. The Knockouts tag match was the weakest match of the night, but this is our weakest men's match of the night. But it has storyline purposes, as you can tell. MVP getting a victory over the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Could you imagine Joe being the number one contender for the Knockouts title? Samoa Joe being the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship has just been rolled up by the challenger for the title at Hard Justice. So it's kind of hard now for Magnus to keep throwing out this whole thing about how Joe should have the title shot and how MVP shouldn't, because MVP just beat the number one contender. MVP just beat the man who earned the number one contendership. So even if it was because of a distraction by Bully Ray, MVP gets the victory. Crowd's going crazy for it. MVP leaves the ring. Bully Ray hits the ring, as does Brother Devon. Team 3D hit the ring to fight with Samoa Joe. Abyss comes out onto the stage, getting ready to fight the Team 3D, but he kind of stops about partway through the ramp, surprisingly. Not sure why he stops, but he stops partway through, and Joe ends up getting hit with a 3D to send the crowd home happy, so to speak. So Impact ends with Team 3D celebrating, posing on the turnbuckles, all that stuff, as Joe is laid out in the ring after getting a 3D, and Abyss is standing on the ramp looking at everybody. So not sure what that means, but it does get announced during this whole thing as the show's getting ready to go off the air that Eric Bischoff has told the commentators that it is official for Hard Justice. It will be Samoa Joe and Abyss taking on Team 3D. So that's going to be a huge tag team matchup. But after what we just saw with Abyss, decided not to help out Joe after all. Who's to say that they're even going to be on the same page? Not sure, but that's the end of our show this week, which gets a 73 rating. I will take it for sure. 12 regions gaining popularity. Some restrictions across everywhere. That's what it is. But yeah, still gaining popularity. Can't go wrong with that. Good stuff there this week, as Impact continuing to run strong week after week. Now with a recent addition, April Mendez here in TNA, ready to take over the Knockouts division, as she said. I am already excited about the idea of seeing Mickie James and April Mendez. I know it's not going to happen. ODB's getting her shot at the title. The champion Mickie James still potentially has some issues with Gail Kim that might get resolved in the future. You know, Mendez may have to work her way up from the bottom and prove that she deserves that shot at the Knockouts title, but that's an exciting matchup in my mind. Is Mickie James and AJ Lee, or April Mendez, that is. I guarantee you that's not going to be the first time I call her AJ Lee at this point. You know, there's some other exciting matchups in my mind, too, for Mendez here in TNA. I mean, Mendez and Gail Kim would be a hell of a matchup as well. Mendez taking on Madison Rayne would be a good matchup. I mean, there's some good matchups that we have potential to see in the near future. And we will have to see what that ends up leading to. Ratings for the week. Ring of Honor did not have a taping this week, but still didn't really get that many viewers. So we still blew out the competition. Not really as much competition anymore. But show history wise, I'll show you guys Explosion really quick. So this is what happened on Explosion. Explosion has somewhat turned into AEW Dark, kind of, in a roundabout way. As you can see, three of the 6 matches on Explosion were TNA talent taking on people who are not under TNA contracts. Manic defeated Mustafa Ali. Angelina Love defeated Anna Bokamoza. I can't even say her name. Colt Cabana defeated Ken Doane, the former Kenny from WWE. So yeah, it's starting to become a little bit more like AEW Dark, just because I figured it was smarter to do that. Explosion might still have some decent stuff on it, but it's really going to start turning it a little bit more into Dark, and where it's more going to be focused about some other kind of mid-card talent or mid-ish card talent getting opportunities to kind of look good against, lower than them people over, so that way they can turn around and do stuff on Impact kind of thing. Main event was Gail Kim defeating Madison Eagles in a really good matchup. Got a 61 rating, which was cool. But otherwise, yeah, there was American Wolves promo on there that they were talking about the Menagerie, saying that they had no problem defending the titles against them at Hard Justice but it's not really official yet. Mr. Anderson was talking about his recent issues with Shelton Benjamin. Gail Kim, before her match, had a promo about Mickie James, kind of continuing their recent talks to each other. The only other thing really of note, the only 2 things really of note from this show is the Wolves promo, because it seems like it's setting up a tag team match at Hard Justice, which I think I may have made official last week, but if I haven't, it technically is going to be official for Hard Justice. And then the other thing of note is this angle right here. Loki was not actually in this. Loki was off screen for it. But it featured Colt Cabana and Jimmy Jacobs talking to each other. And Jacobs approached Colt Cabana and said that he heard Loki and Christopher Daniels talking. He didn't really hear everything that was being said, but he heard some things and heard about potentially watching each other's backs. So he wanted to warn Cabana, because of course Cabana and Loki are having some issues with each other recently. So kind of wanted to warn Cabana. Jimmy Jacobs and Colt Cabana kind of have a little bit of a history with each other outside of TNA. So just kind of wanted to warn him a little bit, give him a heads up, all that kind of stuff. We'll have to see where that ends up leading with that. Whether that ends up leading to anything in the future. But yeah, just a brief little thing there on Explosion. But that is going to do it for this week in TNA. Great show. We are a couple weeks out now from Hard Justice. We're going to have to see what ends up happening in the Bound for Glory series, including what ends up happening between James Storm and Bobby Roode after James Storm got the victory. Which, by the way, I game picked James Storm to win. I could not have written that better myself. We're going to have to see what happens. What's continuing with AJ Styles and Chris Sabin. We're going to have to see what ends up happening now that MVP has a victory over Samoa Joe, and then Abyss decided not to even help out Samoa Joe at the end of Impact. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going to be happening. We're even going to get to see a sophisticated challenge of whatever sort that means next week on Impact as well. So definitely want to tune in for that show and see what craziness is going to happen. But thank you for watching. CR Daredevil bringing you yet another week of Impact here in TNA, here in TEW 2020. And we'll catch you guys all next time.